This is LeVar Johnson. You're listening to Screaming Rebels MMA.
This is Angel Deanda, and you're listening to Screaming Rebels MMA.
This is Alexander Crispin, and you guys listen for Screaming Rebels MMA, one of the best websites that you can find around.
This is Anthony Avila. You're listening to Screaming Rebels MMA.
Looking in the shadows, hiding out of sight. They never see you coming when I take my first bite. They scream and they yell, but try as they might. It always ends the same when the full moon is bright. Blood and death. Yeah, they don't know about me.
Welcome back to Screaming Rebels MMA. I'm Kenneth Bones with my co-host Hector Gomez, and we have a special guest today, Mr. Jonathan King from the Clinch Report. How's it going, John?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing
pretty good. Here to talk some MMA. Glad to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Oh no, thank you guys. It's great. You know, it's real nice to be here. It was a nice invitation. I appreciate it.
Most definitely. We're excited to have you on because we're here tonight to discuss UFC on Fox 5, Henderson versus Diaz, which takes place at the Key Arena in Seattle, Washington, this Saturday, December 8th, for free on Fox, might I add. So anyone who's listening to this, keep note of that. You should all be scoping it out. There's no excuse to not catch free MMA. And I'm especially excited to have John on the show today because, like I said on Facebook earlier, it seems like you're a bit of a betting man, and I happen to think that the main card of this fight is riddled with money-making opportunities. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So we're going to go ahead and break down some of these fights for you tonight, talk MMA. I think I checked the email earlier, and we didn't have anything, so no talking points from any listeners yet, but hopefully we'll get going on that. How's your day treating you, John?
It's going really good. I just finished doing a spot for Real Combat Media on the Rodolfo Roman show, which is a radio show out in Miami. It's nice to go back to back. You know, everything's going well.
Nice to step on down the ladder, dealing with the babies of MMA coverage. Good little old Screaming Rebels MMA.
Oh, there's no such thing. There's no such things. Experts are experts, man. Experts are experts.
The only thing separating us from them is okay. We'll say it's the hardware, right?
It's Ariel Helwani's shoes. That's all. He's got magic. You look at his shoes; they're magical colors. That's all it is.
God damn, it's Ariel Helwani's unibrow sometimes, man.
I'm pretty close to that, though.
I heard Steven Seagal actually wants to fight his unibrow.
Steven Seagal by crane kick.
Do you think that fight will happen before the Randy Couture fight that he's talking about?
You know, everybody keeps talking about this, and my whole point about it is, why are we even letting this guy... I mean, if I was Ed Soares, I would be so upset. I mean, here he is, the trainer of Anderson Silva Machida, you know, and he teaches him everything. For years he trains him. And then Silva wins a fight, and Seagal comes in and says, yeah, I taught him how to do that kick. Come on.
With his cross eyes?
The worst. And then now he's talking smack about Couture? What are you, crazy? Come on.
So do you think that the Aikido Masters is making a bit of a mockery of the Black House?
I think he's making a mockery of himself. And I just think Black House are such class acts that, you know, they're not going to, you know, they're very respectful people. Anderson Silva, Machida, even Ed Soares, they're very, very respectful people, and they recognize him as a sensei, which he is. The guy is a master in the martial arts, but he is not a mixed martial artist. And in no way, shape, or form would he have any shot against Randy Couture in any fight, in any place, in any time.
You think that fight would be worse than the James Toney fight?
You know, there was. If you go online, if you go on YouTube, you can find I think it was the $5,000 challenge where this master of karate said he could fight any MMA guy, and it was a $5,000 contract. And this MMA guy steps up and just knocks him out in about 8 seconds. He's out cold.
I love seeing those types of fights, those kinds of setups. Where you go on YouTube and just type in like Kung Fu versus Jiu-Jitsu or something like that.
Yes.
Those are always golden. It's kind of it's a little hard. It's a little heartbreaking to see these older cats who've been, training like traditional Kung Fu for like 40 years or the better part of their life, to just have it all fall apart around them. But I don't know, man. Steven Seagal, I think there's betting on Steven.
Yeah.
What kind of line would you put on Steven Seagal against Randy Couture?
Seagal would be, oh God, he would be such an underdog. It would be the worst underdog in the history. If you bet him to win, I would. Oh God, that's horrible. And he has no chance. I mean,
we're still under 4 digits, so we're talking about plus 600, plus 700.
I mean, what's Steven Seagal going to use? His reach? Did that work for Tim Sylvia?
No.
I mean, come on. It would just take a matter of the master of dirty boxing would take about 3 seconds to get in on that guy's chest. And I don't care. I mean, Randy Couture could eat 3 or 4 strikes easily from Seagal and not even bat an eye. He would just have to get close to him, and then it would be all over.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't think he would have to open this fight up with the atomic ankle pick of doom.
No. I mean, if you ask if they had something on Cage Junkies the other day that about Chuck Norris, who's another, it's become a cliche in the martial arts world with all the jokes about him and his pathetic acting, but the guy is an incredible martial artist. And you ask Chuck Norris what happens the day he walked into a Gracie studio. They basically broke him in half.
He taught him jiu-jitsu, yeah. Hey, but, I admire that he at least demonstrates his humbleness and admits that, because, yeah, you really are right. As soon as Steven Seagal took any amount of spotlight from his little tenure in MMA training, he is totally running with it. And I think Seagal is a dollar sign, so that's probably what we're looking at in this case.
I think we've all heard the story of what happened with Steven Seagal when he challenged Judo Gene LaBelle on the set of a movie. You guys heard that story, right?
I have not. Enlightened us and the listeners.
Okay, well, Judo Gene LaBelle is have you ever heard of Judo Gene? He's one of the best judo practitioners in the history of the world. Ronda Rousey calls him Uncle Gene. And he was working with Seagal, or he was on set of a movie, stunt work or whatever he was doing, and they began, the story goes, they began debating Aikido over Judo, and Steven Seagal was running his mouth, and Judo Gene got a hold of him and choked him unconscious. But that's not really where the story ends. Many people who witnessed it claim that Seagal actually soiled himself when he was choked unconscious. Judo Gene himself says that Seagal crapped in his pants. So do people that were there. The only person that denies it is Seagal himself. So not a very humble person, and he doesn't even admit when he got choked out. So
yeah, they don't teach that in the movies.
Yeah, and he also used to beat up women too. Let's not forget that.
And imprison women. I remember the last rumor there was when he was doing that cop show on A&E that one of his employees actually sued him, stating that she was forced labor and forced to have sex with them and everything else. I don't know whatever happened to that court case.
My dad always used to. I'm here to help Anderson train, and then the next thing you know, he's talking about how Randy Couture had no right being in the gym in the ring with Machida, and Couture's a legend. You don't do that. You don't talk that way about a legend. It's very disrespectful. It's un-martial artist, is my point. And so he has a dichotomous nature. He's 1 minute he's Mr. Sensei all humble, and next thing you know he's running his mouth again. You don't see it from Anderson Silva. You don't see it from the true martial artists. And then just this past week, he came out and said that he doesn't think George St. Pierre is a great martial artist. He thinks he's good, but not great. I mean, come on. The guy's amazing. George St. Pierre is one of the best martial artists in the world.
Yeah, he's getting on the gravy train. He's probably writing checks in his mouth cash, but I don't really think anyone's necessarily going to be clamoring to get him into the cage over his comments. Not defending him by any means, though, but respectful. I didn't even know there was so much heat surrounding the controversy. But, yeah.
All right, gentlemen, let's go into the official fight card. We're going to go into the main one for the Fox 5, UFC on Fox number 5. And the first belt we have in the main card is going to be the welterweights, Mike Swift versus Matt Brown. John, what do you see on this fight?
This is actually the toughest fight for me to call on this card. But in this case, I'm going with Mike Swick, and I think he's going to win by TKO. In the later of the second, maybe the third round, I would go with the third just to be on the safe side. I said second earlier, but I just don't think that his all-around game is just unbelievable. He's got the AKA American kickboxing pedigree. He now runs corners, so he's a smart fighter. He's a trainer. He understands how to change his game plan. If you guys saw the UFC on Fox card in Los Angeles, DeMarcus Johnson beat on him for the whole first round, left him in mount. Swick, quickly got rid of that ring rust, got his timing in the second round, and look what happened. DeMarcus Johnson went to sleep. So, I think Swick's going to win this one.
That's a good point that you bring up about, how DeMarcus Johnson was taking it to Swick. We've seen Swick in those kind of situations before, and, before his long layoff, he would generally kind of crumble, or not necessarily crumble, but he would have a lot of trouble putting it back together in the face of adversity. And I'll be honest, say what you will about DeMarcus Johnson's record, but I didn't really have a lot of faith in Swick coming back after such a long 3-year layoff to take DeMarcus Johnson in that fight. I got to tell you, it shocked me.
And it wasn't just a layoff from like an injury. He was like internally damaged. He had some sort of esophageal disease, and he just couldn't train. He put on a ton of weight. He couldn't eat properly. So for years, his health was actually at risk, not just his fighting career. But a guy like that, Mike Swick, he's got that pedigree, and Matt Brown's coming off of 3 huge wins against Chris Cope, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, which nobody thought he was going to win, and he eked out a unanimous decision. And then he just beat up on Luis Ramos, too. But I don't see him fighting anybody the caliber of Mike Swick yet. I just think Swick's going to be a juggernaut in this one. He's going to run right through him.
And you look at the losses that Swick has, they've been with some pretty big fighters. You have Paulo Thiago, Dan Hardy. He's fought some of the, harder opponents in that division as well.
Right. Only time he's ever been knocked out is when he was fighting Chris Lieben. And what weight does Chris Lieben fight at now? So that should tell you his chin.
Chris Lieben also packs dynamite in his fist, is what I've heard.
Chris Lieben's one of the pound-for-pound hardest hitters in the game. So look what he did to Vanderlei in about 3 seconds, I think it was. Wasn't it 18 seconds, something like that?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more to Vanderlei's stubbornness, but definitely the guy can knock you out at any angle, too. Not to say he's a technician on the feet, but he's got power, no doubt.
He's definitely not a technician on his feet, but he has power in both hands. Absolutely, well put.
Matthew Immortal Brown, you picked Swick by TKO in probably second or third round. That would be his first time. That would be Matt Brown's first finish. Matt Brown, he's a little inconsistent. I don't know if I see Swick finish it. I'm a little broken on that one, so
hold on real quick.
I'm not sure how I see it going. Go ahead, Andrew.
All right, hold on real quick.
I was talking about Matt Brown. He can be a bit inconsistent, but the guy is hard to finish. He's durable as all hell. I don't know if I will give Swick the credit to say that I think he's going to be able to finish him. I do see him winning a unanimous decision, though.
Yeah, that very well could happen. I don't think Matt Brown's fought anybody with the hand power that Swick has. He is a grinder, but Swick's got excellent. He does really well against wrestlers, and I just see him being able to create a little bit of distance later on in the fight. I think Matt Brown's going to grind himself down, trying to stay close, and I just think Swick will be able to land one on the button at the end of the second round. I'm calling TKO and a 2 stoppage.
So we're all gonna go with Mike Swift. It looks like for the welterweight fight, first one to start the main card, but all 3 of us are in agreement on the Mike Swift winning that one.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. So let's go to the another welterweight division fight. BJ the Prodigy Penn comes back after a couple months off, or close to almost a year, versus Rory McDonald. John, go ahead and, since you're our guest, go ahead and give us your insight on this fight.
Listen, I love BJ Penn. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time, and it's really hard for me to go against him. But I don't see him winning this fight. I don't see him getting knocked out either. I have a feeling that it'll be a unanimous decision for Rory McDonald. His athleticism is unbelievable. BJ's coming off a thorough beating at the hand of Nick Diaz and then a long layoff. I've heard that his weight has been a question. However, took a tough weight cut towards the end of camp. Rory's been in shape the whole time. They were going back and forth trying to get in each other's head about that VADA drug testing thing that I didn't pay much attention to, and I don't think Rory did either. But I see Rory winning a unanimous decision.
I will definitely sign off on that. I think that there's another thing to consider is that fights at welterweight. I never really thought BJ Penn belonged at welterweight. I don't think that BJ Penn was so bad that he had to hang him up when he did. I think there was a lot of that stubborn fighting at welterweight. I mean, if you look at who he lost to at lightweight, dropping the 2 fights to Frank Edgar, I really think he should have just moved down the ladder and fought some of the other lightweight contenders. I think if he had done that, we might still see BJ Penn today. You could have totally avoided the retirements, and he probably would have smoked some guys. I don't see him having. He's not the favorite against Rory McDonald, obviously, with Rory being the hot prospect and pretty much a shoe-in for welterweight contendership at this point. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw BJ Penn close the distance and put hands on him. I think that this is a good fight to put money on BJ Penn for. I'm picking Rory McDonald, but I don't think that people should count out BJ Penn as much as they are. I think the biggest factor is just how motivated BJ Penn is, because I've said this over on before on our show, is I don't really think, as much as BJ Penn would like to spin it to sound like, he really wants this Rory McDonald fight so bad, I don't think Rory McDonald brought BJ Penn out of retirement. I think money brought BJ Penn out of retirement.
I would have to agree with the money issue as well.
Yeah, I would agree as well. And the fight's going off right now at minus 280 for Rory. So you're right. BJ's 240 right now, plus 240. That's definitely the bet on the main card. But I don't think he's going to win, so I wouldn't make it.
Yeah, I remember seeing Rory when he first started with the UFC, and I kind of got that feeling that he was the next big thing coming up. I've always I've liked every single fight that Rory has fought, even the Carlos Condit one, who he lost and was fight of the night. He lost by a TKO, but all his fights are really explosive, really fun to watch. I think he's coming up, and I think that BJ Penn is a good fight for him to show people that he's one of the top contenders coming up.
Gentlemen, I think we might have Mike Guymon on the line, so
excellent.
Second.
We got ourselves a guest.
I know.
How'd that happen?
Hello?
Hello, this is Joker.
Mike, this is Kenneth Bones, Screaming Rebels MMA. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, it's a surprise having you here. We weren't expecting you earlier today. How's it going? I understand you have some news to share with us.
Oh, yeah. I just signed a contract with Bellator MMA, and just happy to be part of their system right now. Turning my ass off right now as we speak. I'm on a bike, riding.
Well, so is your training camp underway right now, or is this just kind of...
Yeah.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, just kicked into high gear this last couple of days. Because I think from tomorrow, it's 6 weeks from tomorrow I'm fighting. And 6 weeks from today I got to weigh in at 155.
I see. And now that's January 17th, I think you mentioned.
Yeah, January 17th at the UTI Grand Event Center. My first apartment was on UTI campus.
I see. Okay, yeah, and we're excited as all hell to see you back in action, see you open up the new year in Bellator. Who are you going to be fighting over in Bellator?
It looks like I'm fighting Savant Young. He's, he's been around a while.
Most definitely. Gentlemen, do you have anything you want to add to or ask Mr. Guymon?
Hey, Joker, what's up? It's Johnny. Joker, what's up?
And I want those 3 fights just to get back onto the. It's also a big stage now. So I think it's the second biggest next to the UFC.
Absolutely.
So keeping it at that level, I want to get like 2 or 3 fights and at that level, and then jump in that tournament.
Excellent.
Now you had a stint in the UFC. Now for being one of where you stood in your division, you were one of the exceptions as far as like how often you fought in the UFC. You had about 4 fights in just over a year. That doesn't happen with a lot of guys in with Zupa and company. Are you looking forward to fighting steadily? Do you know how spread out these fights are going to be for you in Bellator?
No, I'm going to be a little bit smarter about it. I'm going to, up into the tournament, I'm going to be fighting my butt off, but I want to just be smarter this time around on the big stage and go after it serious.
Right. So when you decided to dust off your gloves, you came out of retirement for these 2 fights in 2012. You saw a lot of success. It turned out to be a momentous year for you. I'm sure you want to continue that. Is there anything that you're doing different coming out of the gates that you weren't doing before you decided to call it a career? Did you have to go back to the drawing board a bit, or is it, are you pretty much?
No, that's a great question, actually. I haven't really done anything different. The thing is different. And the biggest of all is the medications I was on. Those fights in the UFC when I was on the strongest dose of medication, it wasn't me out there. It felt like a shadow. Now that we figured out the medication, when I go out there, I've got that same fire pain, and there's nothing they're going to do about it.
Sorry, I apologize, Mike. You're cutting out a little bit.
I'm sorry about that.
No problem. I think it might be on my end. Okay, so
just getting back to the drawing board, getting this straight, it made a huge difference.
Fantastic. And, that's another point I wanted to get to. You're getting up there in age, and not that I want to make it, a stigma about it, but naturally, naturally some questions are going to swirl about, what kind of performance that you're going to be giving us. How does your body feel? I mean, you feel in tip-top shape now that you kind of figured out your training camp a little bit more?
No, I feel great. I just had an injury, getting my last fight that really messed me up. Just rehabbing through that, it's only kind of holds me back.
And
age-wise, I'm old, I'm crumpy, but I still feel sharp.
That's just the experience that you're going to be bringing to the cage. Savant Young has a bit of experience himself, and you guys pretty much been in the game for about the same amount of time. I know he came out in 1988, you were 99. And he had a small stint in King of the Cage. How do you feel about your matchup with Savant Young? What's kind of a working game plan if you can share with the listeners?
We're both opposites, as far as physicality. I am really long and lean. He's really short and lean. And he's got explosive on the game. Where I'm not such explosive, I just taunt the pace. I think the good thing for both of us is that I just want to keep it in mind. And then, of course, I control those ground strength in clinch, all that stuff. That's what we want to be. Anywhere outside of that, not good.
Gotcha. Toward gold, something that you want to see around the waist, obviously. It kind of goes with that question. Now, maybe a little bit risky to discuss how much of this is kind of want to see you kind of come to a period, or is
Hey, Kenny?
You want to sorry. Go ahead.
Hey, you're breaking up a little bit. You want to go ahead and try to see if you can adjust?
Yeah, I got no problem. 1, 2. Other now.
I'm sorry for the bike riding my ass.
You gotta understand. This interview would sound a lot shittier if I was on a boat. Trust me.
I think it's great that he's on the bike, man. It makes it sound awesome.
Yeah.
In case you guys, one thing you guys don't know, Mike Guymon and James Wilkes, another former UFC fighter, they're two of the best young trainers out there right now. They got an incredible stable of fighters down there. One of them's fighting at King of the Cage. Johnny Cisneros coming up. Mike, talking about your stable of fighters, was that something that you decided to start up after you left the UFC, or was that something that you had going on all along?
I'm in there to lose. I freaking want to have my hand raised. I want to beat everybody up who steps in front of me. When I put into Johnny and the boys, I want them to get better and better and better. Because, you know, I'm 38 years old. How much longer do I have? They're going to be my legacy. When I look in the cage, they're in there. And it's like I'm in there too. So.
Hey, Mike, this is Hector from Screaming Rebels. I just want to let everybody know, if people want to know where you're up to or anything else, is there a certain place or a Twitter account or where people can follow you at?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Joker Guymon. Joker's the easy part, and then Guymon's G-U-Y-M-O-N. And then on Facebook, my actual page is filled, but go to Michael the Joker Guymon. You can follow my, day-to-day stuff up there, training, what's going on, and all that stuff. But it's just, this time around, this last part, I'm putting everything in it. With the fight, the training, my guys, the fans, everybody. So. All right. Hey, Mike, let's remember to keep the speed down, okay? I know how you drive. Now that you got this contract, we got to keep you safe. Oh, my God, I've been getting yelled at about my driving lately, so, yeah, I'm Oh, man. Are you going to be at the King of the Cage event on for Johnny's fight? Oh, man. Are you kidding me? I'm going to be right behind Johnny. You know, it's like, man, he's my boy. I love him to death. He's got a huge heart. He's very loyal. And he just puts it all in there, you know. I love him. Gotta love him for that. He's also one of the most... What he says to be is the tattooed terror. I wouldn't want to be in the cage across from him. Yeah.
Most definitely.
No, he's great in every which way. Outside of the cage, inside the cage, he's a good human being, flat out. Hey, you know what, Mike? Let me ask you just one more question before you go. We started in on this before. It's kind of a funny one, all right? So don't get mad at me. But since you know about MMA and you know about martial arts and everything, you've been in for a long time, and I'm sure you heard about Sensi Steven running his mouth. How long does Sensi Seagal last against Randy Couture in a cage? Wait, who is this? Steven Seagal has challenged Randy Couture to a fight. Oh my God. You have no idea how badly I would love to see him in the cage. With somebody who's comparable to his age, dude, he was getting his crazy butt handed to him. And you know what I like about Steven Seagal movies? Is watching him run. Have you seen him run? He runs like a duck.
Old.
Shit is flying everywhere. His arms are all over the place. It's crazy. He's not stealing any kisses, that's for sure. What was that? I said he's not stealing any bases, that's for sure. No. So, yeah, I think he just runs this trap. And, yeah. He's one guy who, needs to get in there. And do you think that he taught Anderson Silva that kick? Or do you think Ed Swartz and Blackhouse taught Anderson Silva that kick? No. Steven Seagal showed Anderson Silva everything. He showed the jiu-jitsu, he showed how to strike.
And Steven Seagal invented the world, so...
Steven Seagal taught Pele, and Pele taught Anderson, and yeah, there you go. Story of life.
He's always wearing shooting glasses, too. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yellow hunting glasses.
The crowd, or what are you doing?
He wears them indoors, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
I don't know.
when I was a kid, that was a big song. I wear my sunglasses at night. Come on.
And the thing as a kid, I was like, oh, yeah, you know, so like switch the wrist and all this stuff. Now I'm like, oh, my God. The hell is the thinking?
Hey, Mike, one last thing before we let you go. I don't know if you got to get back to your training camp. I don't want to hold you up too long. Getting back to you know, you in the cage in Bellator. I read on your Facebook that apparently it was a little bit of a spectacle with yesterday with your dog barking and farting at the same time. How much does something like that play onto your psyche when you're getting ready to fight?
I freaking love it, dude. It helps me, like, step back and laugh. You know, I've got a great name. He's a big and goofy, just loving, happy dog, you know? And he's huge. He's like 145 pounds. Weighs more than my wife. And he barks at my wife. And he's got that roof. And it's a roof. And he stopped barking and looked over his shoulder like, what the hell is that? And I was dying, man. It smelled, but I was laughing.
I guess I'm not going to Hey, Mike, thanks so much, Mike. It was great talking to you again. I, of course, I'll see you at the King of the Cage event, as always. And I'm also going to the Mansion fights the 14th of December. Are you guys going to that fight as well?
I'm not sure. I might. It's just I'm really focused, you know. One thing I kind of want to step outside for is just Johnny.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much as well, Mike. Best of luck on that fight. And
John, and all the kind words. I really appreciate you guys are awesome. And I'm going to do my best in there January 7th.
Hey, the pleasure's all ours. We're honored, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Take care, Mike. Thanks a lot.
Have a great night. All righty, bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mike Guymon making the drop from welterweight, fighting at lightweight now. He's going to be debuting on January 17th in the Bellator Fighting Championships cage against Savant Young.
Well. Thank you very much, Jonathan, for inviting your friend to call in as well. It's much appreciated.
Oh, it's not a problem. Hey, listen, Joker, when you guys come down to the King of the Cage, and I told you guys last time, you can even stay in my apartment if you need a place to stay. I don't care. When you guys come down to the King of the Cage, you'll find out for yourselves. I won't have to tell you anything. He's one of the nicest people you ever want to meet. His crew, James Wilkes, who won the Ultimate Fighter, Johnny Cisneros, they're so willing to help you out. Whenever I write a story, Mike promotes it for me. They're just really good people, and you know, it's I hate to say it, but you know, it has gone a little bit past just a professional relationship. I definitely consider Mike a personal friend of mine. So
that's great. So
we would love to welcome him with open arms here at Screaming Rebels MMA. And thanks for inviting to offer us to friggin' sleep in your apartment if the need be. Because
I know.
I'm recording this out of a box right now.
Yeah.
Hey man, listen. You know, Ariel Helwani is our enemy. You know, he gets everything. Screw that kid. It's time for us to get some stuff. You know, and if we got to work together to do it, then that's the way it's got to be. But it's there's so many. MMA is the largest sport. It's the largest growing sport on television right now. There's more opportunity for growth in our area of what we do than there is in any other sport.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to get into the sports writing field for a long time. baseball, football, and I've never been welcomed with, it was always give me stuff for free and do, and with MMA, it's not that way. There is a niche you can make for yourself still in MMA, and if your name isn't Costas, you can still make it. If your name isn't Ariel Hawani in our industry, you can still make it.
The ceiling is high in mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
And the requirements for entry are not. And that's not to say that they have low standards, but you make a good point. It's a good time and a good atmosphere for someone to break into the business on our end, and for fighters still. I'd still go. I mean, that's going to change within time.
Absolutely. I mean, have you guys ever called in for a UFC press conference before? Been on the phone for a UFC press conference before?
We have not.
No.
I'm telling you right now, you would want to shoot yourself. There are paid reporters who are on the phone the entire time with you, right? And they ask the exact same question that the numbnuts beforehand just asked. What's going to be your game plan against Benson Henderson? Do you really think Nate Diaz is going to tell you what his game plan is? I mean, they ask the same questions over and over again. That's why fighters are bored doing interviews. And like Joker said to Kenny right there, that's actually a great question, Kenny. That's a question that doesn't get asked. What are you doing differently when you retired and you came back? That's a question, that slips on the mainstream so much, and it makes me sick, because all you have to do is be a responsible journalist in this game, and you're set.
Well, I think they take the easy road and just follow the same generic questions they always ask at every press conference, and don't really want to step out of that box and ask the real original questions, or questions that might get a little bit of a different response. They just want to go through it, ask the same questions, get the same response, and leave, kind of thing.
I think a lot of guys see the kind of formula as a real kind of short form kind of interview that Joe Rogan lays out post-fight in the ring, and kind of think that that's kind of what they have to adhere to at times. They don't realize that that's an entirely different scenario.
Yeah, he's breaking down the fight.
Yeah, but Joe Rogan breaks down the fight. Yeah, he's being technical. He's offering a technical, like a play-by-play, a blow-by-blow. And, listen, I think Rogan's awesome at what he does. I really do. And he's got so many people hating on him. The guy's awesome at what he does. People say it's unprofessional when he goes, oh, when the guy gets punched.
I love that. That's my favorite part of the whole thing.
I jump out of my seat,
Or when he asks for repeatedly, shots of the kicks to the groin and stuff. That's just his comedy style, and it's funny.
Yeah, and it's entertaining. It's good. Another guy who's got a completely different delivery method, but I absolutely love, is Steven Quadros, who used to call Pride. And that guy, man, he sees the fight like a second ahead of time almost, And I always envied that about him. I always liked that about him. When I was a kid, and this is a true story, I grew up in Babylon, Long Island. One of my best friends, his name was Mike Waters. His grandfather was a boxing writer for Newsday, Bob Waters. He's a world-renowned. He died when I was a little kid, but he was friends with Muhammad Ali, and all the boxers respected him. And I remember, after he passed away, seeing his grandmother showing me all the letters from Muhammad Ali. And, I was a kid, but I knew who all these guys were on TV. I'm like, wow, these big, strong men are, like, crying over this little old man with glasses who wrote a newspaper article. How powerful can you get? That's awesome, And he didn't just write TMZ nonsense. He got in there. He created things. One of the articles I read, he was talking about a guy that Ali had just connected on the jaw, and he said the man began to dance. He began to dance the dance that a marionette would. However, there was nobody at the strings. And you could totally see this guy flopping all over the ring, trying to keep his balance like a marionette puppet would without somebody puppeteering it,
Yeah, and humanity.
Yeah, and there's that's not around anymore. the days of Burt Sugar describing a fight. There's not many out there that do that anymore. MMA Junkie is one of the only ones that does it. John Morgan, Ben Folks, those are the only, Kevin Ioli at times. Some of these guys are just redundant and pedantic all the time. But those three that I mentioned, I think, are awesome. Ioli, my favorite of all time, John Morgan from MMA Junkie, and Ben Folks is creeping up there as well.
It gets automated. How much would you credit to, I guess, a lot of the mindset around mixed martial arts and your layman's fans just wanting the fight, what's going to happen in the ring laid out for them, as opposed to really wanting to know what's going on behind the scenes with the fighter, and to kind of really spell out the entire, the training camp, leading up to the fight, the post-fight, where they're standing in their division. And I feel like to an extent the UFC is doing that still. It's all about what happened. What did you do in your last fight, and how is that going to look in this next fight? And then, okay, we'll sit you in front of the cameras, and we'll throw on the black and white filter, and then do your little kind of generic interview, and then here we go, put them in the ring. So I think it's a good point that you bring up about just kind of you're really painting the picture and taking the time to kind of let people get to know the fighters, just not just what they're going to do in the ring.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I edit my articles 3-4 times before I put them in. Sometimes if I'm having a hard time, if I'm using a lot of words, if I'm being super descriptive, I'll send it to my dad to edit it for me. That's the smart thing to do, you and I both know right now there's 50,000 wannabe Joe Rogans on YouTube with a YouTube channel and a podcast camera, calling fights and stuff like that. I guess it's all right and stuff like that, but it'll be fleeting. Longevity is something that is definitely akin to knowledge and expertise, and you'll see that the Joe journalists in MMA are going to start disappearing as the sport gets bigger. I'm pretty sure.
Do you think the bad shirt styles will go with it?
The what?
Do you think the bad fashion sense will go with it?
Oh God, some of them are horrible, aren't they?
Yeah.
Why does everything have to have a skull on it? That's what I'm like. Why does everything have to have a skull on it? I'm a big fan of the old tap out, the simple tap out t-shirts.
It's just not the skull though; it's the little sequence and everything else that goes with it.
Yeah,
that you would typically see on a girl's shirt is now kind of,
I think it was Affliction that started freaking bedazzling their shirts.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And then they wear like some weird, acid wash jeans with it, and it's a weird sense of style.
And the funny thing is I've always found this to be, and when you'll see, I'm sure you guys noticed it at Tattoo Palace, because there were some tremendous characters at that fight, I tell you. But you'll see it at King of the Cage to some extent too. MMA clothing, it looks good when you're in shape. I hate to say it, if you're buying
at that size, I don't know if it's really a good idea to be paying the premium either for tap out or an Affliction shirt.
Yeah, I mean, just put a bed sheet on and call it a toga at that point.
At the Tattoo Palace fights, that was the first time that Hector and I have covered any fights live. I mean, we're still brand spanking new at this. And I thought about that before I headed out to Lemoore. I don't have a single MMA style shirt in my closet, but I still didn't know what to wear. I went in my work clothes, to be honest, but I don't know if you remember what I was wearing.
You had a suit and tie on, man.
I was wearing a fucking Argyle sweater. And I thought, you know what? At the very least, whoever I approach for an interview won't think like, okay, here comes another fat guy in an Affliction shirt holding a microphone. And I think it worked. I mean, it got a couple guys' attention right away. They didn't hesitate, but maybe they're just that nice. Maybe I'm just under Not giving credit where credit's due. There's a lot of nice guys in this sport.
Yeah.
Even in the fight game, professionalism goes a long way.
It most certainly does.
I try to wear a collared shirt and I'll wear jeans or whatever, but I don't want them to be nice jeans, and I wear my polished shoes. That's what I think it was Andre Feely when I interviewed him. He was like, "Man, where'd you get those shoes?" I had on a pair of like brown patent leather shoes, and my foot's all messed up, so I was limping around like a gimp, and he was the whole interview. He kept staring at my shoes with his one eye, going, "I love those shoes." But yeah, the more professional you are, it's like anything, and I couldn't tell that it was your first time covering a fight. You guys were pretty good.
Oh,
I thought you guys were very good.
Yeah, and me and him did kind of cheat a little bit. We kind of text each other and made sure. I was like, "What are you wearing?" I don't know. We sound like females. "What are you wearing?" "Oh, I'm gonna wear this." He's like, "Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, I'll go ahead and wear this as well." So we just wanted to make sure that we kept it as professional and so that people would take us serious as well. This is our first rodeo, and we just wanted to make sure that we presented ourselves very well.
Hey man, once I get comfortable, I'll break out the camouflage cargo shorts. Don't worry, it's only a matter of time.
It's only a matter of time before the wife beater comes into it, right? Look at Ariel Hawani, the guy's wearing his No Place Like Home sneakers and a green velour jacket or something like that. I don't know what he's trying to pull off, but I can't hate on him because the guy knows what he's doing. He's pretty good. So
I guess Homeboy gets a pass because he's hip. I think that's on the hipper end of the spectrum as far as mixed martial arts styles go.
Yeah, he's a little hipster.
And he knows how to do an interview. Let's not lie. The guy knows how to do an interview. He's really good at interviewing people. He's not Howard Stern.
Yeah. I like his approach, though, that he kind of makes it like he's humble to meet you and everything else, and then he kind of throws a little bit of jabs of insult, and I don't understand that in him. You see a lot of the fighters get away from him, or after the fight, irritated and pissed off of kind of the stuff that he kind of rolls out during the conversation.
I mean, even the things where he had, problems with some of the fighters, what was his name? Rampage, and he's got a couple beefs with a couple fighters out there.
Jason Miller.
Tito Ortiz can't stand him. And to me,
it was a James Toney thing.
Yeah, if you're a fighter, how many fighters have ever not lost?
Yeah.
None. If you're a fighter, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. Eventually, you're going to lose a fight. That's just the way it is. You have to have thick skin, because when you 15 in a row and they're calling your opponent the loser, and a lot of those guys, Rampage being one of them, I think he's very thin skinned when it comes to his fight. And if you get a little too, if you tell him the truth, say, hey, maybe it's time for you to hang up the gloves, he gets insulted by it.
Yeah. The great one example of that is with Joe Rogan. Rampage was pissed off, I guess, the way that he dictated the fight and how he kind of talked to him. But Joe Rogan said, "Hey, I'm watching the fight and I'm trying to give the people the aspect of what's going on." And he goes, "You really need to step up your game. I mean, that's all there is to it." And I guess they squashed it, but you're absolutely right. Rampage is one of those people that have that very thin skin and can't take any kind of criticism whatsoever, even if it's a positive criticism to help him out in the end.
I love Rampage Jackson. He's one of the most entertaining fighters ever. He was my favorite coach on the Ultimate Fighter. Not only because he was a coach, but he called that one guy Titties, which I thought was hysterical. Titties. He's funny as hell. I think he's a pretty good actor. I'm not saying that. But let's not lie here. Rampage Jackson hasn't earned his money in a while, okay? He hasn't.
In the talking department.
Ryan Bader, unanimous decision. John Jones, rear naked choke loss. Matt Hamill, unanimous decision. Lyoto Machida, split decision. Loss to Rasad Evans, unanimous decision. Keith Jardine with a win, unanimous decision. His last entertainment fight was in 2008 when he knocked out Vanderlei.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's because at that point, I mean, Vanderlei was pretty much a warm body already. Don't get me wrong, Vanderlei was one of my favorites coming out of Pride.
Yeah.
But, you know, just...
I still think Vanderlei's dangerous. He's got that head-first fight style, and he'll catch anybody. He can knock out anybody.
Dangerous against a guy like me, man.
But he's also got a little weak in the chin as he's gotten older. He's definitely got Liddell disease at this point in his career. That's for sure.
That's for certain, and his fighting style just doesn't really lend to that. And he's an older guy, and I think it's a bit too much to ask of him to really change his game up to cater to his deteriorating chin.
Yeah, but he's still going. I think he's got another fight left on his contract, so I think he's got one more.
But it's funny what you mentioned about Rampage, though. Is I think he's definitely one of those guys who loves to dish it but can't take it. You mentioned about him having thin skin. And I think that's entirely the case because, if someone was going around calling him titties on TV, I don't really think he'd take it very well. The guy does tend to break down when the pressure's on, and he's a guy who doesn't like to lose. We saw him go off the deep end after he lost his title to Forrest, and so, yeah, there's examples of it. But I think that kind of takes us back to, what we were talking about with MMA journalism and guys asking these formulaic questions, and kind of brings us back to Ariel Helwani a little bit, is I'll give credit because Ariel Helwani does tend to ask the hard questions at times.
Yeah, he's not afraid to ask anything. He'll ask anything.
So, it might sound like we were ripping on him and stuff because, I mean, the guy is pretty much at the top of the, of the game as far as mixed martial arts journalism goes. But, I mean, yeah, it's frustrating because it's everything and everything under the sun.
And he's freaking Canadian. My town wearing an Expos hat, okay? I got major issues with that. Major issues.
Thanks, Canada. First Nickelback.
So, Rampage, you like to play in MMA, eh?
All right, let's go back to the cards we were talking about shortly. We have the next fight. It's going to be a lightweight fight, light heavyweight fight, against Mauricio Shogun Hua and Alexander Gustafsson. John?
Unpopular pick, but Mauricio Shogun Rua, one of the greatest fighters of all time, one of my favorite fighters of all time. He's coming out of two absolute wars. I was at the Brandon Vera fight. I saw him after the fight. He was all marked up. He got hit many, many times. And we all know what happened in that Henderson fight. It's Alexander Gustafsson fight to lose. I think that Alexander is going to win. And it'll probably be by a TKO. A ref stoppage, but I'm going to go with a decision win.
Kenny?
I'm going to go with a unanimous decision win for Alexander Gustafsson as well.
And I'm going to agree with that.
At this point.
I think me and you talked about this the last show, and we both kind of came in agreement that he would probably win by decision.
Yeah, I mean, there's too much of there's too many question marks surrounding Shogun and what Shogun's going to show up. There was a war with Brandon Vera, but my point is that it shouldn't have been. The level that Mauricio Shogun's at, Brandon Vera on Fox on free TV was a highlight reel sitting for him, right? Just sitting in front of him. Not to take anything away from Brandon Vera, but just at the level that they were considered to be at before that fight took place. I thought it was a gimme for Shogun. He had that fight with Dan Henderson, which was an absolute war also. I can't really take anything away from him for the troubles that he faced against Dan Henderson because, Jesus Christ, he caught that right multiple times. I'm surprised Hendo didn't finish him. So, yeah, Alexander Gustafsson it's just the thing about Shogun is he's always in the fight, no matter how sloppy he starts to look because his gas tank is completely depleted. He manages to always keep that weird freaky out of nowhere power where he can hit you with the ugliest hook and still put you on your ass. I think Alexander Gustafsson moves around a little bit too much for that, and I see him no, I shouldn't say dancing his way. It's kind of derogative, but I see him coming out with a unanimous decision.
Yeah, I see. You know, Gustafsson's lost once. The only time Phil Davis got him on his back and choked him out.
Another big-time prospect, yeah.
And I was at the Fox on 4 card, and I didn't think Brandon Vera deserved the fight. I didn't think he beat Elliot Marshall leading up to that fight. He won a split decision over Elliot Marshall. I thought Elliot Marshall actually won the second and third rounds of that fight. So
I agree wholeheartly. And, you know, that's another reason why I just couldn't help. I couldn't get over the fact that I thought it was a gimme fight. Because
that first round, Brandon Vera came out gunning. I mean, he came out. I was sitting there going, oh, my God, he's going to win this fight. After the first round, I thought Brandon Vera was going to win the fight. Holy cow, he is on fire. Leg kicks, combinations. He was moving really well. He looked like Brandon Vera when Brandon Vera was supposed to win heavyweight and light heavyweight titles. He looked like that guy.
Yeah.
So I was impressed, and I didn't. My hat's off to him. He fought great. He got caught. He got caught a couple times in that fourth round, and that's what ended the fight. And you know, not taking anything away from Hua, the guy's a machine, but Alexander Gustafsson is an absolute freak. Okay, he's 6'4". He's got reach for a day. He can touch you on the other side of the octagon.
And he fights like Dominic. Dominic Cruz.
And he fights like a little man. But, I mean, look what he's done since Phil Davis. Look what he did to another great wrestler, Matt Hamill. Bye-bye, 2 rounds. TKO, punches and elbows. Look what he did to Thiago Silva, my buddy from Florida. My former, well, not anymore. He's not with American Top Team anymore. It's with Imperial. But, you know, look what he did to Thiago Silva, Vladimir Mushenko. These guys are top-notch MMA guys. And this kid comes in and kicks the living snot out of him. So I just don't think, I think he's going to start with Rua's legs. He's going to chop those tree trunks down. He's going to take his power away from him. And as you were saying before, Rua's power is not in technique. He does not have pretty punches. His power comes from those huge thighs of his.
And taking those thighs out is going to be the major key for Gustafsson to win that fight.
Absolutely. That's why I have him winning. And I think it's going to be a TKO. I think the ref's going to stop it. But because of Hua, because of who he is, because of his chin, I'm going unanimous decision.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I have to agree. TKO, I'm not so sure about. Gustafsson's on an absolute tear, and I've been saying it for a while. I think he's the dark horse of this division. As far as finishing Shogun, though, I mean, there's John Jones did that, and Gustafsson is not John Jones.
Not yet, he's not.
Not yet. No matter how many comparisons that people want to make because of the length of their limbs, but he's getting there and he's working his way to it, and I'm glad to see that they're they tenured him and kind of worked him towards that. So I think Mauricio Shogun's a good stepping stone for him at this point. It kind of feels weird calling Mauricio Shogun a stepping stone. I don't really mean any disrespect by that, but I think that given how much Shogun's kind of fallen off the boat a bit, and Alexander Gustafsson's meteoric rise, I think it's a perfect matchup, and I think it's great that it's going to be on Fox. They're doing an awesome job of using this platform to show off one of their marquee fighters who it flies under the radar a bit. A lot of people don't know who Alexander Gustafsson is still.
The same thing goes for Rory. I mean, not a lot of people know, and I think that Fox is going to do great for Rory as well to get that spotlight. All right.
Against another high-profile fighter like BJ Penn too. This is a smart card, and these are smart matchups.
I was really the fight that I really want to see is I want to see Gustafsson Teixeira. I think that would clean up the young guns. Who's going to be the established young gun in the 205-pound division? I'm not really happy with the way the UFC's been making fights. I got into a little Twitter battle with Chael Sonnen the other day. He was sending me messages telling me that Dana White makes the rankings, and I'm sorry, but Dana White does not make the rankings. Dana White runs a fight company. The fans make the rankings.
Yeah.
And Chael Sonnen has no right to fight for a title. I'm sorry, but and the only thing that I hope happens is I hope that the UFC realizes real quickly after 30 seconds that John Jones should not be fighting Chael Sonnen, that it was a bad decision. They're going to realize it real quick, I think. That fight's going to be over in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it's short-term monetary gain. They're striking while the iron's hot with Chael Sonnen, and he's going to be a moneymaker for a while. But I think I hope that they realize halfway through that season of The Ultimate Fighter, because Chael Sonnen's going to have to reach way, way down into his bag of tricks and just because how much of that do you think is an act? I don't know Chael Sonnen the guy very much. I know Chael Sonnen the fighter.
Chael's a character. He's definitely a character. I would say it's not. I think his bravado, a lot of it is an act. I think he is naturally a cocky guy. When you're that good at something, you can't help but, you know. He's gotten in trouble with real estate scams in the past, so, you know, he's a fast talker and you know, he doesn't always back up what he says and stuff like that, but you can't take anything away from him. The guy's a hell of a martial artist, and he's a good fighter. But, you know, I'm sorry, but this fight reeks of a card designed in a boardroom in Los Angeles, not in a UFC headquarters in Vegas or whatever. It just seems like it was something that was designed in Fox network. Let's see if we can get some viewership and use that guy with the talking voice, Chael Sonnen. You know, and that's what I don't think the UFC made this fight. Chael Sonnen's already been signed to Fox, by the way. Chael Sonnen has a contract with Fox. I know for a fact he does. Okay, that's why he was on the commercials for Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And I had one guy respond to one of my articles going, Always Sunny in Philadelphia is on the FX, not Fox, dummy. Well,
the subsidiary.
Why do you think FX is called FX? It's Fox without the O in the middle of it, you know? So,
good Lord.
So you think we're going to see Chael Sonnen on Sons of Anarchy anytime soon, or what?
No, God, please, no. I would have to stop watching my favorite show, and that would really anger me.
Only if he's the villain. Because I think Chael Sonnen could play a good villain.
A quick intro, death kind of scene.
Did you see last night's episode with Dave Navarro? I couldn't believe that one. That was pretty cool.
Spoilers! Actually, no, it's already last night. But for myself, it's a spoiler. I'm totally.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. Dave Navarro, wow, really, like it's cool. It doesn't spoil anything really. I have no idea what's going on with the plot, so it's all good. Dave Navarro.
It's really giving anything away. You're just going to be like, oh, wait a minute, that's Dave Navarro.
That pale guy wearing lipstick.
Eyeliner.
No, but get Chael Sonnen as this big-time CEO of a local pro wrestling circuit is getting into Sam Crow's drug. You know, he's selling drugs under his pro wrestling kind of scheme and stuff, and Sam Crow doesn't like it. Ultimate villain there. That's tough signs, my friend.
It could happen. We always see Theo Rossi sitting next to Dana White, so.
Oh, dude, and I see MMA cameos galore. That's field day. I'd love to see these guys in the Sam Crow vest. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that is a great show.
All right, let's go and talk about the lightweight. Not only is it a lightweight fight, but it's a championship fight, 5 rounds. And it's going for the champion right now, current champion, Ben Smooth Henderson versus Nate Diaz. John, what do you see on this fight? This is probably the one I'm most excited about to watch.
Well, I'm making my bet on this one based on the odds. Since it's a title fight, I try to give a prediction that can help people make money. I honestly see this fight ending in the second round. I see Benson Henderson dominating, with putting Diaz on his back, and I see Diaz catching him in the submission second round. So I have Nate Diaz winning his first title submission victory in the second round.
And I think me and Kenny kind of agreed to that. I think we talked about it last time. We both see kind of Nick Diaz winning. I actually didn't see it as a submission. I kind of saw it as a decision.
Yeah, Nate can grind one out, and so can Ben. That's for sure. They're both grinders. I just think he's going to be able to use that distance to force Henderson to shoot. He's gonna use that jab like he did against Cowboy Cerrone, and just constantly shove that Stockton hand right in Henderson's face, and Henderson's gonna have no choice but to take it to the ground. And you know, Henderson's a great wrestler, but he's very aggressive on the ground. And Nate Diaz really likes aggressive people trying to pound his face when he's on the ground.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it almost feels like that's what he wants to lure him into. Because a decision's an iffy proposition for Nate Diaz. It's something that he himself talked about. Because I would probably see it going to decision in favor of Nate Diaz. But, you know, it's something I want to know what your opinion on this is, because I don't feel like Nate Diaz would win if he went to a decision. And he said it himself, although I think he said it for the wrong reasons. I don't think he would win if it went to a decision, because I honestly feel like this is a kind of fight where I could see Nate Diaz winning off of his back.
Absolutely, yeah. And Nate's incredible at attacking off his back, okay? And if you guys remember, I think it was Mr. Chris Beam, Alexander Chris Beam, his fight. He won that fight attaching pounds. He was attacking off his back. I could not believe that. When that fight ended, I actually ran over to the other side of the cage to catch Chris Beam before he left. I was like, dude, I don't usually do this, but you won that fight. Hands down, you won that fight. I hate saying stuff like that. I hate saying you can't leave it to the judges, don't leave it to the judges. That's part of the sport.
Yeah, it comes off as hyperbole, but it is a necessary thing. The truth is, it's just, we don't want to put that stigma on people's heads, like, oh, you can't leave it to the judges. We want judges who do their job. That's what we want.
Absolutely. Dana White wants knockouts because that sells highlights. But I'm sorry, every fight doesn't end in a knockout, and fights that go to the decision, they need to be judged properly. A guy fighting off his back, technically trying to submit a guy in jiu-jitsu, rolling, even if he's on his back, attacking from the bottom is huge. Look what Carlos Condit did to George St. Pierre from the bottom.
Yeah.
That was one of the most active bottom fights I've ever seen in my entire life. He did not bust George St. Pierre up on his feet. He busted him up on the ground, on his back. He busted him up. And I honestly, I know what you're saying, and I agree with it, that it's going to seem to the judges that Henderson's controlling the fight. But judges have to realize when a wrestler takes you down, as soon as the jiu-jitsu guy starts rolling, if he's on his back or if he's in any position, if he's rolling and trying to get you in, he's now in control of the fight.
But do you think Ben Henderson would want to take that fight to the ground with him? I think that's a dangerous situation right there. If he's thinking that one of his game tactics is to bring Nate down, even if it's for big points or anything else, that's kind of a dangerous strategy if he decided to do that.
I'm not sure he has a choice.
He's got no choice. That's what I was just going to say. Nate Diaz is 6 foot tall, but he's got arms like a guy that's my size. He's got arms of a guy that's 6'3". He can touch you from the other side of the gym. Ben is an incredibly athletic guy. This is going to be one of the great. The only winner I can guarantee is the fans, because it's going to be a great fight. But you know, I just see Diaz being able to use his distance to peck away. His last couple fights against Jim Miller, Donald Cerrone, Gomi, that was some of the best boxing I have ever seen in UFC.
Yeah, he's very tactical.
And he was able to and, you know, Donald Cerrone, you know, it's not, you know, Donald Cerrone is one of the best strikers in that division. And he got into Cerrone's head, tried to lure him right into his game plan, and just basically jabbed his face the entire time.
What was the Donald Cerrone fight where he was almost knocked out and knocked out the other opponent? I don't know.
That was the Cerrone fight?
Yeah.
That was against Galard.
Okay. He said that he remembered going out, and he said he felt like he was going to pass out, and he still laid out the other punch for him to knock out Melvin Galard.
Yeah. Cerrone's a great fighter, and if you guys remember that fight, he was dominated. That wasn't even close. He dominated. Nate Diaz dominated Donald Cerrone. I've never seen Donald Cerrone dominated like that. I've seen him lose. Yeah. Seen him lose fights.
And more so is the fact that he wasn't being broken down. He was being broken down, but he hadn't been put under like serious physical adversity. He was out of his game. He lost the fight in his head. Yeah. You know what I mean? Nate Diaz was just totally. It was ballet almost. Yeah. And Donald Cerrone did not have an answer for it. And Donald Cerrone is a smart fighter. He's a guy who thinks on his feet. And honestly, I wasn't expecting that. I had Donald Cerrone in that fight. I knew Nate Diaz's hands would give him problems, but I thought that, you know, eventually Donald Cerrone would find the key to kind of equalize the fight, come out on top. No, that's a testament to Nate Diaz's boxing. A lot of guys want to talk about it like it's pitter-patter. They're used to the guys hooking every single one of their punches and just, head hunting and throwing haymakers all day. It's very underappreciated what the Diaz brothers are doing.
Yeah, I had my eye closed in a fight with one jab. Got me in the right spot while I was coming in, and the guy was just firing a jab off to regain his distance, and my head was moving forward. He caught me right in the eye socket. One jab can close your eye if you get him right. It doesn't have to be, and if your eye is closed, 50% of your fight is lost right there, you know? So you don't have to pitter-patter my butt. That left hand hits you in the eye, eventually your eye's going to close. And you can't fight with closed eyes. You can't fight well with closed eyes. So it may not knock the guy out, but it will still win him the fight, just if not more effectively. And I don't see, you know, I don't see Benson Henderson. The only thing I'm worried about is I've always in the past I've had a problem taking Nate Diaz because you never really knew what Nate Diaz you were going to get. If you were going to get the lazy Nate Diaz in the Dong Hyun Kim fight and the lazy Nate Diaz in the Rory McDonald fight, or if you were going to get the Gomi Diaz where he came out as an animal and armbarred him in the first round, or the Jim Miller, or the Cerrone.
They're a lot more consistent now. I'll be honest. I don't think I ever, just out of, you know, fandom and you know, how I thought of them personality-wise, I don't think I ever picked the Diaz brothers in any fight before 2010.
Yeah, so, you never know what they're going to do, even if they're going to show up.
Exactly, it seems to be the case with the elder of the Diaz brothers. But yeah, and with distance, and that's what we saw with Cerrone. It's hard to implement your game when there's a punch. There's a punch coming at you at all times. It's purely volume. Benson Henderson is a guy that he rips to the body like none other. I'm really impressed with his hand power, but I think a lot of people have a little bit too much invested in his ability to throw hands, and I don't think he has the technique to deal with Nate Diaz, and it's kind of weird. I never really would have foreseen that we'd potentially be seeing Nate Diaz with the strap on Saturday.
Yeah,
that blows my mind. Yeah. It just, I thought about it earlier, and it's thought, where did this come from? I forgot this was a title fight, to be honest.
He's a great fighter, man.
Yeah, he deserves the title. A chance at that title.
Yeah, it's just, I guess it took a while for it to set in with me that Benson Henderson was the champ. I don't know what it is.
And Nate's plus 135 too, so you can make some money on this.
Yes, this is also another betting fight.
Not much, but some.
Well, it's a safer bet. He's got all three of our picks.
Yeah. So, before we end the show, Jonathan, what I want to ask you is, we didn't cover all the fights, but is there one particular fight that you would advise people would be the must-watch or, must-see fight of the whole fight card, including the prelims and, I guess, prelim Facebook and just the main Fox card? Is there one fight that you would tell people not to miss?
There's one on the undercard. I like Dennis Seaver, Nam Pham. That'll probably be a good fight. I like Scotty Jorgensen, John Albert. That'll be an entertaining fight. Wrestler versus striker. Darren Cruikshank's always fun to watch. Jeremy Stevens, Ives Edwards, right there. Boom. That's the one I want to watch. Thug Jitsu, baby, back in town.
Yeah, that fight's going to be gangbusters, and I'm excited for that one. Eve Edwards, the ultimate journeyman, and I think he's going to give Jeremy Stevens a great fight.
I actually met Eves a couple times. He's a real nice guy down in the American Top Team. He's the master of what he calls Thug Jitsu. And, this fight's been, he was waiting backstage to fight Jeremy Stevens at the last pay-per-view. And we all know what happened, how Jeremy Stevens got arrested on Friday before the fight. And then they held him all weekend, and Dana couldn't bail him out. And so finally this fight's on. The other fight on the main card that I really think, I picked Roy McDonald. But going back to what Kenny said, is he made a great point, and it's been kind of sticking in my craw. And since we had Mike Guymon on, we kind of you can't forget, Mike Guymon almost knocked out Rory.
Yeah.
He lost the fight by an armbar, but Mike Guymon had that kid rocked. That kid was on sleepy dreams, all right? And Mike Guymon, as much as I love him and as great a fighter as he is, he doesn't have the power that BJ does. So with BJ, like Kenny said, if he can put his hands on him, it could be a very, very entertaining fight, but I'm still going to go with the unanimous decision victory for the young kid.
All right.
You could call a submission of the night. Where do you think that's happening?
Submission of the night? I'm going Nathan Diaz.
I'm kind of curious to see if one of the first fights that you mentioned from the undercard for exciting fights, Dennis Seaver versus Nam Pham. Nam Pham loves to box. One of the better boxers in his division. I love the way he goes to the body. Dennis Seaver, obviously, really, really decorated kickboxer. I think that he's going to have to force Nam Pham to change his game plan a bit, because Nam Pham just loves to bang. But there's so many questions around how good of Nam Pham is. Really, as a grappler, he kind of has one of those kind of questionable black belts, and kind of excited to see it, especially with Dennis Seaver coming off of a submission win too. What was his last fight against? Pull that up.
I'm not even sure. I had it, but I lost it. Shoot. I think the Seaver fight. I think the Seaver fight's going to come down to balance. If you remember the
Dennis Seaver was with Diego Nunes.
Oh, yeah, it was unanimous. Okay, so it's been a while when he beat Andre Winner with that rear naked choke.
Right.
Yeah, so that was a while back, but I think that shocked me. I didn't see that coming. To see him. I want to see Nam Fan. I want to see if he can get submission of the night. I like Nam Fan. I want to see if he can get that bonus. I want to see him kind of prove his jiu-jitsu chops and kind of prove everyone wrong a little bit.
Going down to Dennis Seaver, you know, he's very top-heavy, and Cerrone was able to kick his legs out from under him, knock him off balance that entire fight until he beat him, you know, rear naked choke style. But Seaver was just flopping all over the ring. It just seemed like, I don't know. I think Seaver should be fighting at a heavier weight. I think 145's too small for him. I think the weight cut takes a lot out of a guy that's 33 years old. You know, he's got 28 professional fights. I don't really see him getting a title shot at any weight division, so he should really fight where he's more comfortable. He did well against Sideropoulos and Fisher and Weiner and Wyman. I don't know why he came down. He came down after the loss to Cerrone, but I don't know. I don't see him staying at 145. He's definitely not going to get a shot at the title at 145. So,
Seaver's a pretty. He's a short and stocky guy. I mean, he's not incredibly short. He's 5'7", and by featherweight standards, that's pretty. You know, that's standard. But he's got really short arms. I think a part of it is him trying to, since he's such a good kickboxer, I think a part of it's just kind of trying to equalize the frame of the guys that he's fighting with. But yeah, you make a good point about his age and the weight cut, and so I think that's something that he's going to have to start factoring in moving forward. But I'm looking forward to seeing how he looks here against Pham.
Yeah, and you know, Nam doesn't really cut that much weight. Nam's in great shape. He's a smaller guy. Like you said, he's got great boxing. It's a boxer versus a kicks boxer. We'll see what happens. I would have to give Pham the edge on the ground, but not by much. And I'd have to give him the edge on striking too, but not by much as well. He's also lost some close decisions, but Nam Phan's never really been dominated before, so, you know, except earlier in his career, he'd been knocked out a couple times, but he's been in some wars, especially his last fight with Cole Miller. Was a great fight. Cole Miller I used to train with. That was an excellent fight. He won a split decision. I had it going for Cole, but you know, that's the way it works with judges.
Where'd you train at, John?
I used to train at American Top Team in South Florida at the world headquarters. I wasn't much into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I was a karate fighter when I was younger, and I was into boxing when I got older. So I studied Muay Thai under Steve Bruno, who fought 3 times in the UFC. I studied wrestling under his brother Mike Bruno, and my boxing coach was Howard Davis Jr., who won the Baker Award at the 76 Olympics, beating out Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hitman Hearns. He was the best boxer in the Olympics that year.
We got a guy who knows his stuff. A real student of the game.
Very impressive.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Some of those guys I still talk to today. You know, they were always very, very nice to me and always good people down there. I definitely recommend you take some sort of training. It's definitely something that'll open your perspective. That's the best way that I could say.
It's humbling. It's humbling to say the least. I've just over 1 year of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under my belt, and I'm not training anymore. That's about it for me. And yeah, sometimes it could be downright discouraging, but let me tell you, it'll really open up parts of you that you didn't even know you had. And
I tell you, I've never been healthier than I was at that. I was at 145 pounds. I was helping train a couple guys that needed length. You know, I was never going to be a pro fighter. That was God's honor, you know. But I was okay. I had some respect in the gym. I got up to level 3 Muay Thai rather quickly, and I was training with guys that were pro fighters. A guy like Carl Dorbries, who just signed with CFA. Carl Dorbries is going to be nasty. Fights at 205 pounds. Built like a Greek god, and the guy throws hammers. His leg kicks I hated sparring him because I was so worried that my legs were going to be broken. Even with pads, I was just scared of him. He was just scary. And he goes, I'm not going to hurt you, John, don't worry. But I was scared shitless. That guy hit hard.
Flashbacks of Corey Hill.
Oh, God,
that kind of
yeah.
stuff scares me.
Yeah, and that's what it sounded like every time he hit the bag. It sounded like 2x4 smacking together. And they'd be like, okay, King, go in there and train with him. I'd be like, what are you, crazy? You're just sending me in there because you don't want to go in there.
Yeah, dude, and that's a testament to how much more power technique will give you than just raw size and just whatever brute power you have. Because I'm a big guy, and I would only train jiu-jitsu when I would go to the gym. And afterwards, I would stick around a little bit for some of the strength and conditioning training. And at the same time, on the other side of the mat, they do like a striking class.
Right.
And I'd see some of these smaller guys hitting the bags, and they were just hitting them like workhorses. Like there's one guy who was literally nicknamed I forget, it was in Spanish, but it was pretty much the horse. Smaller guy than me in every way, and would just totally brutalize my ribs if I caught a kick from this guy. And I mean, that's an eye-opening thing too, because when no one was looking, I'd try and hit the bag and see if I could generate that much power, and it's just not there. You got to have your chops about you. You got to have your technique down. That does so much more for you than just whatever raw power you have.
I hate to quote Mickey from friggin' Rocky movies, but for a 10-round fight, he says you got to train for 10,000 hours. And these guys put in. I have nothing but respect for these fighters. What they do to their bodies, I mean, it's not an easy buck. You're not going to make any money unless your name gets up there. Like I said, you're going to lose. You're going to lose a fight. You never go undefeated. It never happens. And your training is to get the crap kicked out of you. That's your training. That's why these guys get hurt in training all the time. People always, the big question that's going around now is how can these guys tone down their training? All right, let me ask you this. How do you pretend to fight?
You don't.
Exactly, yeah. Like practice less. It doesn't work that way in any other facet of the game or any other occupation for that matter.
No, there is a certain aspect of fighting where you have to have technique and you're working in the mirror and you're throwing punches super slow to make sure keeping your head moving and stuff like that. A lot of that has something to do with it, but you got to get in the ring and face live punches and live kicks because there's no other way you're going to get timing down. And you're not going to get timing down going half speed. You're not going to do it. What's going to happen is if you train at half speed, you're going to go into the ring with a guy who trained at full speed, and you're going to get blitzkrieg. No matter, he's just going to come at you, and you're not going to know what to do. That's what happened to me. I know it happened to me. So it's these guys put in the time, man. They put in the time.
Yeah, a lot of the lower level guys. There's plenty of dudes across the country who are still fighting for 5 and 5. You know what I mean? 5 to show, 5 to win, things like that. These guys, if they're really putting their training camps in, are essentially doing probably the hardest, most physically taxing job there is. I mean, a lot of people see the 15 minutes in the ring, the dude, cuts a little interview, he goes behind the fucking curtain, sell a couple t-shirts, and they think that, being an MMA fighter, sounds like a good fucking deal, right? There's notoriety in it and everything, but unfortunately for, the guys who aren't on the biggest stage and under, the hot spotlights and everything, it's entirely true, and to kind of just expect them to hold back the training, or, to think that they need to alter their training because it's throwing too many wrenches in how we want our card and all the matches that we want to see. I think that for as much as these guys give to the sport, I think that fans need to kind of learn to accept the unfortunate reality or the inconvenient truth that these guys are going to get hurt. It's like you said, they can't go out there and train half speed because they'll get blitzkrieg. You find a lot of guys who look like they're fighting underwater when they don't realize how essential sparring is.
Absolutely. Perfect example. Perfect example. We were talking about him earlier in the DeMarcus Johnson-Mike Swick fight. First round to the second round. Mike Swick, 2 years off, comes in first round. What did he look like? Went back to his corner at the end of the round, shaking his head. He was in mount. He got mounted by DeMarcus Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, DeMarcus Johnson's a good fighter, but Mike Swick was at the top of the division when he went out. He's not supposed to get beat up like that. He got beat up like that because he was timid. His timing was off. He hadn't been in the ring in a while. Ring rust exists, boys. It does exist. It's not a myth. And BJ Penn's coming in with it. There are guys coming in with it tonight in this fight coming up. So it's something that does exist. And no matter how hard you train in training, it's training.
And BJ Penn, unfortunately, is one of those people too that you don't know what BJ Penn, like you said, the Diaz brothers. BJ Penn's the same kind of way. You don't know what BJ Penn's gonna go into that ring. It could be the one that's not taking the weight cutting serious, hasn't done a lot of stuff, and thinks that his sheer talent from years before are gonna somehow protect him, and he didn't have to train as much as he's has to,
Guys, I hate to interrupt, but I just got a Facebook message from the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, Rory is going to run through BJ. You heard it from Mike Guymon first. Rory will run through BJ.
He's a fast-paced fighter.
He's not even going to fight him. He's just going to run right through him.
Yeah.
He's going to bring his running shoes to the cage. I think if that were the case, considering the circumstances and the stage they're fighting on, and the big UFC pay-per-view, not even a pay-per-view, a free card on Fox. They've been touting this all the last month. Oh, and this week it's fight week. You know what I mean? That's huge for a guy like Rory McDonald. It's a big thing for guys to get on the main card of a pay-per-view, let alone a free pay-per-view, where so many more potential eyes are going to see this. I think if he manages to run through BJ Penn, outside of Nate Diaz getting the strap that night, Rory McDonald's the happiest guy in that arena.
Yeah. And I can't believe we have not mentioned this. What kind of mixed martial arts journalist am I? We haven't even mentioned who Rory McDonald trains with. Oh my God. He trains with the greatest 170-pound fighter in the history of the UFC, George St. Pierre. Every single day. Every day. He trains with GSP. So, you can't have a much better training partner than that. Pretty sure GSP beat up on BJ Penn, didn't he?
I think I saw one of the little things that they had on Fox about Rory McDonald, and he was talking about GSP, and they basically, I guess Rory's been training there, but really didn't train with GSP that much, and then until when GSP fought BJ Penn, they brought Rory in to train and spar with GSP. So I think he kind of has that same kind of game plan that they've done this before for the GSP fight when he fought BJ Penn.
Yeah, and Rory's actually already came out and said he's not fighting for the title at all. He does not want a title shot unless George loses it. So he refused to fight his teammate. So that they have a great friendship. If someone does that, they're not going to refuse a gold title shot for someone that they don't really care about. So they have a very good relationship.
Yeah.
And during the GSP Condit fight, behind the scenes, Rory was in the gym with training with GSP. I'm sure after GSP took some time off, he was back helping Rory. That's just the way that for us, a happy TriStar Gym works. They are such a team up there. That is I would say they're one of the top teams, in the entire world. And they're growing, and they're getting better and better and better. TriStar is going to be one of the best gyms on the planet soon. if they're not already. And just their stable of fighters are incredible. Their training squad's incredible. They're just look at their 270 pounders at the top of the division, Rory and George. You don't get much better than that.
And without question. And what you mentioned about Rory McDonald going on, pretty much stating already, he's not looking for a title shot unless GSP loses it or vacates. I think that's pretty huge. I think that's a special thing, and it takes a lot to pretty much, and not that GSP asked, but to accept that someone, it takes a tight gym for a guy to say, I'm just going to defend the throne. You know what I mean? We saw that with Shogun and Vanderlei and Pride. Yeah. And for Rory McDonald, not necessarily say he's going to knock dudes off the hill before they can get to GSP. But essentially, when it's your teammate who's the champ, and you're pretty much saying that, hey, I'm just here to clean out the division while they're at the top of the hill, you know that the GSP has to turn around and return the favor. And you know they're putting in time in the gym. So,
yeah. And I don't see GSP losing that title anytime soon, and because of that, I see Rory actually dropping down. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Rory at 155. He's not that big of a welterweight as it is. He's only 5'11".
Yeah, his body frame fits. It's not like it's going to be something where he's this towering welterweight that's going to be moving down to lightweight. I think he has a good frame for lightweight.
And that's where TriStar, they got Miguel Torres. They got a couple guys down there in the lighter weights. But
is Miguel training with TriStar?
Yeah, he's back. He's training with TriStar now, but he's fighting at 135. They have some guys. I mean, is Jabin, Eyes Edwards, Mark Bocek, John Makdessi.
Is Ivan Menjivar up there with them too?
Ivan Menjivar, yeah.
He's
the armbar master. That guy's crazy.
I think they just said that his next opponent is gonna be Uriah Faber.
Yes, it is. Yeah, he's gonna fight Uriah.
Huddle under my seat for that fight right now. I mentioned this on Facebook. That has Fight of the Night written all over it.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
I saw the funniest Uriah Faber T-shirt just the other on the internet today. It said, "I don't get hit in my chin very often because kicking in the balls is illegal."
I knew it was going to be a chin joke. I can't get over that. I was about to say, I've been a fan of Uriah Faber's chin longer than I've been a fan of mixed martial arts. It was only until recently that I realized there was a fighter connected to it.
Uriah Faber is one of those guys like George St. Pierre. That guy's just a freak of an athlete, I don't know if he'll ever be a title contender again. I don't know. He's getting kind of on, and he's been in a lot of wars. He's been in a lot of fights. It's not, 34. How many fights is that? 35? Let me see. It's 26-6. So he's been in some wars. And he's not getting any younger. He's 33 years old. He's down at 135 from 155 originally.
It's a testament to in the UFC. There's a lot of debacle about how the cream naturally rises to the top. A lot of guys are shot to the top, for the sake of pay-per-view buys and everything like that. Uriah Faber's been there long enough. He was at the top when he was in the WEC, so it wasn't anything like they were trying to make these big pay-per-view numbers or anything. And by having him at the top, he's a guy where the cream rose to the top naturally. But the cream doesn't always tend to come down, even when it should. Uriah Faber I'm not saying he should come down, but he's at the top of the game. He's been at the top for so long. He only fights the best guys at this point in his career. So yeah, he's been a little bit off and on in his last, I don't know how many fights. I'm not looking at his record right now, but yeah, it's bound to happen when the caliber of the contenders and the new challengers are constantly getting better. He has no option to just fight at the top of the hill. I think he just has to. I don't think GSP would allow him. Uriah Faber would allow himself to kind of step down in competition too much. Always takes the highest challenges, and here he is in front of Ivan Menjivar.
Yeah, and this fight's actually a rematch. So they fought a long time ago, 2006, I think it was. Let me see. Yeah, 2006 TKO eruption. Menjivar was disqualified for an illegal kick to a down opponent. So fight ended controversial. You didn't get to see, a decisive winner. Hopefully now we will. Both of them have amped up their games since 2006. And like you said, I don't think Uriah Faber's done by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, he got knocked out against Mike Brown, and ever since then, he's finished every single fight. And even against Aldo basically, I mean, did you see the pictures of his leg after that fight? It was disgusting what he did to his leg. And Faber's a tough son of a gun. He stood in there and took that. He was in the hospital for days afterwards. His leg was disgusting, but he finished the fight. He finished that fight.
He went straight to the hospital after that fight. And, yeah, it's just one of those things. When you fight at that level consistently, you're going to lose some. And I think Uriah Faber's more recent losses have to be taken with a grain of salt compared to a lot of other fighters.
Well, he's fighting against Aldo. His recent losses are against Aldo, Cruz, and Renan Barão. The three best fighters at 145, 135 in the entire world.
Yeah.
The three best in the entire. He's lost to the three best in two different weight classes. That's it. Mike Brown, the guy I used to train with, American Top Team, who's retired, who's since retired. I don't know why he lost to Mike both those times. The first time he got knocked out. The second time, Faber broke both his hands in the first round and he lost the decision. He was throwing elbows from a boxing position. I felt horrible for him, but he finished that fight too. And it's not like he's getting knocked out. It's not like he's getting put to sleep. Uriah Faber's a freaking freakazoid of an athlete. And he is an extremely well-rounded martial artist, and I don't think we've seen the end of him. I don't know if we'll see him with a strap around his waist, because it is time is a factor now. But I definitely still see him at the top of the list. He's beat up Eddie Wineland, Brian Bowles. These guys are no punch and Judy fighters. So
I think we've at least come to the point where we can say that Uriah Faber is almost like a litmus test, not a gatekeeper by any means, but if he's at the top, he's firmly planted at the top, and if you can't get past him, then you don't belong there.
Yeah, if you can't get past Faber, you're not a contender. Faber's the perennial contender at that division, I think, and if in my eyes, if this fight between Barão and who's he fighting now? Because there was not McDonald. Is it McDonald he's fighting? I think it is McDonald, yeah. Let me see. It just got announced today. Nope, they didn't put it up yet. Shoot.
Michael McDonald, yeah.
Yeah, he's fighting Michael McDonald, that's right. And if Michael McDonald gets hurt, I think they should give the title shot to Faber. He lost to the unanimous decision. Barão wasn't that close, but he's the only one in that division that deserves a shot. So everyone else still has to prove himself. Yeah.
And you know what? I'm sure Zupa and company wouldn't have any problem with that, because Uriah is one of those guys where they keep him around and they put him in big money fights, because the truth is he's the guy that a lot of people want to see. The man's a fan favorite.
Yeah.
And the women love him. But it doesn't have only to do with his notoriety and his fame. He's the man who truly deserves to be in that position too. So it might seem a bit redundant to people, and people might get kind of tired of seeing Uriah Faber fight for titles, but that's where he belongs still. I mean, same deal with Kenny Florian when he was just jumping down every weight class, and he might have been gifted a couple title shots because he wasn't. He wasn't really racking up as many wins as I think he should have been when he was moving down in weight class. But the guy was up there, and it was only a matter of time. So there's special cases like that.
With Uriah
Faber's definitely one of them.
With Uriah Faber and, like you said, Kenny Florian, when do you ever see like a boring fight with these guys?
Never. Yeah, never.
Every fight they go, they're just warriors, and they're going to take it to, even if they're losing and they know they're losing, they're still going to fight to the last minute of the last round.
And we haven't heard the last of Kenny Florian either. He's thinking about coming back, so...
I think he should come back.
God only knows what weight class. 185, 170, 155, 145.
I think he should come back, too. I think it's tough, right? Faber, I mean, that guy does not take winning well. That doesn't mean he's a bad sport by any means, but you know that guy gives everything he has into the fight. And, you know, when we've seen him lost, we see him break down inside